Okay, welcome to ROC for English 1. The second unit that you will be working on in today's ROC session is content related to Unit 3, which is about reading and understanding informational text. We did lessons from Unit 3 for approximately half of the 6 weeks in the second 6 weeks, and this will be a review of some of those key skills, and then you will get to apply those skills to reading passages and some questions that are related to this content. Okay, so one of the key terms related to informational text is that it's important to understand who the audience is for a particular text. The audience is the intended target group for a message, or it's the group of individuals that the author is trying to write to. And you can use text features, which includes images, fonts, color, the titles and subheadings, any charts you can find, and also the word choice. What kind of words does the author use to help you determine who a text audience includes? For an example, the intended audience for most cartoons is for children. Occasionally, there are some that use language and jokes that are written more of on an adult level, and those are, the new category of adult cartoons. But most cartoons that you find on Saturday morning, the intended audience is children. Some features that you would look for to help you figure out who a text is written to, you look for text features. So do you find bold print, colored text? Do they try to highlight certain text and make it in large or small font? Usually the smaller a font is, then the older the audience is that's being targeted. Diagrams and timelines are often found in informational text, and the more diagrams and timelines and pictures and captions that you find, then the younger the audience typically is. Look for features such as table of contents, indexes, or glossaries, graphs, tables, charts, and maps to help you figure that out. And they also give you important information to help you understand the text better. So let's take a look at an example. This is from a book, like this is the cover, called The 10 Most Uncontrollable Functions of the Body. And here is a page from one of the articles. Taking a look at these text features and also looking at the word choice, who is the intended audience for this expository text? So let's take a look. We have a picture of an individual that looks young, so not an adult. This could be an adult in this image, but also could be a teen. There is a graph here, or there's an illustration that does not seem to be exactly anatomically correct. It's not wrong, but it's not as specific as you would find in a medical book. There's a lot of color. There's a lot of call-out boxes here. So I would say that the intended audience for this expository text would probably be middle school, intermediate school. And if I actually read the text, I'm going to notice that there are key terms that are defined, and the word choice is very, very much written for a younger audience. So I can look at this and tell that my audience is younger. Okay, so besides audience, it's important to know the purpose of a text. And purpose is the intended goal of a piece of writing, or the reason that a person writes it. So the author's purpose is generally, especially in informational text, one of these here listed. To explain a particular topic, to describe about a particular topic, to persuade an audience, to entertain, or to inform. So if you think of the old PIE, persuade, inform, entertain, that will help you. That's how usually you would find it in those three purposes, but I added more because you may see more than just that in your practice. So when you're looking at purpose, it's important to realize that it can often be linked to how the text is organized. So if you can figure out what text structure a text is written in, then you can often figure out what the purpose of that particular section is. So it's important to refer to that text structure chart, and you have a copy linked in to this lesson to check out the signal words for each of those main structures. So let's take a look. In description text, the definition of that is that the author explains a topic, an idea, a person, place, or thing. Okay, so signal words for description are for example, such as, for instance, or most important. And you may see it written in this way. If you look at these paragraph frames, it gives you some ideas. Also tells you, like, here's some good summary questions for description text. So if that is one of your answer choices, you can take a look. Hey, do I see any of these signal words? And maybe that will help me figure out what the purpose of this text is. Likewise, for sequence and chronological order, that's the author listing items or events in numerical or chronological order. So they would use signal words like first, second, next, then, after, at last, in the end, or on a particular date. Excuse me. So the purpose of a chronological text would be to describe the events or to show how events are in a particular order, so that purpose is a little different. Whereas compare contrast, that's where the author is explaining how two or more items are alike or how they're different. And so you would look for the signal words that go along with compare contrast, which are in contrast, as well as, on the other hand, however. So you can look at this entire list here and help you figure it out. Here's how you would organize it in a graphic organizer. Here are some summary questions that you could ask. How are they similar and how are they different? And then this paragraph frame here helps you figure out what a good summary of a text that's in compare contrast would look like. Only two more types of structures that you might find are cause and effect and problem and solution. Now, cause and effect and problem and solution, if an author is going to write a persuasive text, these are typically the ones that are used for a more persuasive text. For cause and effects, that's where the author is listing or explaining one or more causes or of events and giving you the consequences or effects. Okay, so you're looking at those, the consequences of something, or to explain why something happened. And you look for the signal words reasons for, reasons why, if and then, as a result of, because of, in order to, effects or caused or result. So take a look at that carefully whenever you're reading a text to figure out what kind of structure it is, so that it will help you figure out the author's purpose. These paragraph frames here are helpful because they help you, one, to write a summary, but also to look at the text that you're reading and see if it follows a similar format. Problem and solution is similar to cause and effect, but except instead of looking at causes and effects, you're looking at a problem and possible solutions. Okay, so words like dilemma, puzzle, question, answer, one possible solution, one challenge, or therefore, they're very similar, cause and effect and problem and solution, but you will be looking specifically for the words problem and solution when you are looking at a problem solution text. Okay, so you're going to follow the same format to help you figure out that text structure. So let's take a look at this text and let's figure out what is the specific purpose of this expository text. So we're talking about the book. Okay, so the book is called The 10 Most Uncontrollable Functions of the Body. We want to look at the title. We want to look at the text here. This is an example of an uncontrollable function of the body. And then, so let's figure it out from our choices. What is the specific purpose of this book, The 10 Most Uncontrollable Functions in the Body? Is it to entertain teenagers, to provide information about bodily functions that can't be controlled, to persuade readers to try to control his or her bodily functions, or to discuss the audience? So two that I can take away right away is this one, to entertain teenagers, because that may be true that they're doing that. However, they are giving us good information here about how burping is uncontrollable. So we can't say that that's the primary goal. Is it to disgust us? although it might be disgusting to some of you, it is not necessarily their only thing they're trying to do to disgust you. I think that they could do some other things that would be more disgusting than to tell us how burping works. So we can take A and D off of the page. Now, are they telling people to control their bodily functions, or are they providing information? So let's take a look. They say what's going on, and when you read this text, you'll find that they're telling you how burping happens. And then the next part, it says take control. You can usually reduce how often you burp by being careful not to swallow too much air, eat and drink slowly. Don't talk with your mouth full. It's not just rude, but it makes you swallow more air. And then they ask some questions about that. So are they telling us that we have to do that? Are they telling us anything bad that happens? No, they're not. So the persuade is not the best choice here. They are instead providing us information about those bodily functions. They show us what it looks like as far as what happens in the body. They give us definitions of key terms, and they tell us, the process. So the best answer is B, provide information. Okay, you're going to have to do something similar today. So hopefully you are following along with that process, and that can be helpful to you. Okay, so let's look at this particular text. What is the specific purpose of this expository text? So this is the page on burping. So you're going to want to read it. And then we're going to figure out, are they describing, entertaining, condemning, or explaining? So I'll read this to you, read along. The title of it is burping. And then I have an illustration of what happens with burping. And my subheading is what's going on. As you are enjoying your meal, air makes its way into your mouth. When you swallow, the air is pushed past your throat, also called the pharynx, and down the esophagus. It then passes through the cardiac sphincter and into your stomach. When it is time for this trapped air to escape, it starts to bubble its way back up. On its way out, the air rushes past a little flap of skin called the epiglottis, which stops food from getting into your lungs. The moving air causes the epiglottis to vibrate, and the unmistakable burping sound is born. Take control. Another subtitle. You can usually reduce how often you burp by being careful not to swallow too much air. Eat and drink slowly, and don't talk with your mouth full. It's not just rude, but it makes you swallow more air. Also, avoid drinking through a straw or drinking highly carbonated beverages. Question. Call out box here. Why do you think that you feel so much more bloated when you drink soda than when you drink water? Then it has definitions of cardiac sphincter, which is a ring of muscles controlling what gets into the stomach and what doesn't, and carbonated, when liquid is charged with carbon dioxide gas to make it bubbly. And then we have the expert says, the job of the cardiac sphincter is to stay closed so that the contents of the stomach will be digested and passed on to the next part of the intestinal tract. Okay, so do they describe parts of the stomach here? No, they show me the stomach, but I don't see a description of that. So that one I'm going to take off. To entertain the reader with colorful images and interesting text features. Okay, I do think that those are interesting, but is that the primary purpose? What I see that they are doing is describing a process. They do talk, they don't condemn. Condemn means to say something bad about. They tell you how to stop burping, but they do not condemn anyone who burps. Do they explain what happens when a person burps? Yes, we've got what's going on. We've got the whole process throughout this entire page. So if it's for this entire section, this is the best answer that shows what this page mostly does, because this image explains how burping occurs. Even the expert here talks about it. The headings, the titles and the subtitles all go along with explains what happens when a person burps. So I'm going to go with that as my answer, and that is the correct answer. Okay, so that's how you help yourself figure out purpose. Look specifically at the text. Look at the text features. Another question you might be asked with informational text, I guarantee you'll be asked, is about main idea, which is also the same thing as controlling idea, which is also the same thing as thesis. Okay, so do not get hung up on which word or which phrase is used. Main idea equals controlling idea, which also equals thesis. Okay, so some definitions that go along with main idea is it's the main point or underlying direction of a piece of writing. Another way to phrase that is it's the topic and the claim, or what the author says about that topic. They claim that goes throughout the text, okay? The topic plus the claim that the author makes throughout the text. So it will not only be found in one section, okay? The controlling idea makes the reader ask a question that will be answered by reading more, or it helps the reader understand the author's purpose for writing the paragraph or essay. Okay, so it's all about going throughout the passage. Okay, so let me show you what I'm talking about. So let's look at the controlling idea of this paragraph. So we've read this paragraph. We'll look at it again, but remember it needs to be, so here's our title, burping. The subtitle is what's going on, and we want it to be an idea that continues throughout this passage and not just one sentence, that the sentence should encapsulate or should contain all parts of what this paragraph's about. So let's look at our choices. Okay, burping is disgusting. Do we have anything about burping is disgusting in this passage? No, so that is false. That is not correct because it never says anything about burping it being disgusting. Does it say anything? A cardiac sphincter is an important part of the gastrointestinal tract. Well, yes, kind of. But is this whole paragraph about the cardiac sphincter? Or is the cardiac sphincter just a part of what this paragraph says? And see, that's one way they try to catch you all the time on these kinds of multiple choice tests. This is only a part of the answer. This one's not true at all, okay? Untrue, so we can mark that as being, if I could do a strike through, I would. I don't see it. But that one is not true at all. This one is only partially true. So it's there, but it's not throughout the passage. Okay, then we have these two choices. Air moves throughout your body and it needs to escape. Okay, that seems like a good answer. And then we have this one. Air flows through the body in a certain order to result in the burping sound. Okay, so here's your big test here. Both of these are good choices, but one is better. Which one of these choices better encapsulates this entire paragraph? That it takes you from the beginning all the way to the end. This part right here, it goes to about right here. This part right here, air moves throughout your body and needs to escape. But look, the rest of that where it adds assert to result in the burping sound is here at the end. So when you're looking for controlling idea, you want the idea that goes from the beginning to the end. Okay, so this is the best answer for that passage, even though C is not a bad one. This is the better one because it continues with the beginning part of the paragraph all the way to the end. All right, that's what you want to look for in your controlling idea. Okay, another key idea that we talked about for Unit 3 is what does it take to have a good summary? So if you keep in mind that a good summary is a sentence or a paragraph, depending on what you need to do for the passage, that includes the beginning, middle, and end of the passage. It should be objective, meaning there should be no opinion words, just the facts, okay, of whatever the passage says. So no personal bias in a good summary. It should be true, okay? Should be actually what the passage says. Should be short. If we're writing a paragraph, so paragraph should be 5 sentences or less if you're doing a paragraph one. All right. It should include the main idea of whatever the text is, what they're asking you to summarize. It should include key details from the beginning and the middle and the end of the passage. Okay, so I have an example here. This is for a passage we read in Mrs. Strawn's class. And this is when you have a paragraph summary that we were asking them to write. that you want to begin with the title, the author, and the purpose, okay, and the main idea. So in the passage, the author describes the types of weapons used by ninjas. That's a good, if you only could write one sentence about it, that would be the best sentence. But if you are asked to write a summary paragraph, then you want to, so first you begin with your title, author, purpose, and main idea. Then you list your key details, and then you state the concluding ending idea. So in the end, the author ends the passage by questioning how ninjas would use a Swiss Army knife. Okay, now, something you need to be aware of is that they'll try to show you examples that are not good examples of summaries because they may have something that's either too narrow, like if my first sentence says the author describes the katana, I think it's one of the weapons, but it doesn't just talk about the katana in the passage. It talks about all of the weapons. So make sure that you choose a statement that encapsulates the whole idea. Okay, so after you've watched this video, then you're going to take a look at, I'm showing you right now the actual chart. You're going to be in Unit 3, Reading Informational Text. You can open these slides, which I have used for this video, and then you can also open the text structure chart, which will help you identify text structures before you go on to this assessment.